Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. Cohen, we've got a lot to discuss. I have to get your reaction to that unhinged, disastrous speech Donald Trump gave in Las Vegas, where he told the crowd, he's been in front of a lot of juries lately. He told the crowd, "I don't care about you. I just want your vote." He then said, "Why is the media so concerned about your health in the heat? They should be concerned about my health." He then went on to tell stories about how, because of some relationship he believes he has with MIT, although he didn't make the connection, though, but because his uncle was a professor there in 1975, that helped him come up with this theory that if an electrical boat is sinking, that it would electrocute him, and how he has to think about if he'd rather be electrocuted versus eaten by sharks, and he chose electrocution. And
I'm pretty sure that every one of our brigaders is saying, "What's the difference?" We're happy either way for him, whichever way floats his boat.
And then in an ultimate kind of Jim Jones moment, he talked to the crowd about, wouldn't you rather unalive yourself? I don't even want to say the word. Would you rather unalive yourself than vote for Joe Biden? I mean, this was as unhinged as it gets. But Cohen, I feel that there's something different, though, happening right now, in the sense that with Trump's criminal conviction, I think it rocked the country in a little bit of that was and unexpected, if you will. Obviously, there are ramifications that come with being a convicted felon. I mean, I think you know that. But I think with respect to Donald Trump, I think with Donald Trump, though, there are more eyes on what he's doing now in a different way, because I think people were relying on legacy media and corporate media to give them the story. And when the trial didn't come out the way corporate media said it was going to, I think people said, whoa. Let me take a look here. So I've just noticed, and I don't know if you're noticing the same thing. You and I have been covering these unhinged traveling fascist circus events that he calls rallies all the time. But the reaction to this one has, I just think, been different. Cohen, sorry for saying that at the outset. I love you, brother.
No, that's okay. I have absolutely listen. I'm the first one to make fun of the whole damn thing in the first place. Look, I don't think that there's a single person that is joining us today that has joined us since we started the beatdown. I don't think there's a single person that has joined me on my Mea Culpa podcast, which is now like 4 years old, that doesn't believe that Donald Trump has become more and more and more unhinged over time. In Nevada, which I think was, they said, about 110 degrees, forgetting about the humidity, and they decided to do this rally at noontime, directly when the sun is overhead. All of a sudden, supposedly the teleprompter went out. Well, I can tell each and every one of our brigaders right now that I don't have a teleprompter. Neither does Ben, as we sit and we discuss with you the various different issues of the day, as we discuss with you our opinion on the unhinged Mandarin Mussolini himself. If you put me in front of a mic right now because my teleprompter had gone out, well, didn't he read the script before? Or was he going to do what he always does, which is just wing it? I can just talk about anything. And that's why he went ahead and he started talking about the first crazy thing that came to his mind: boats and sharks. Why? Because he probably saw that there were 3 shark attacks that had just taken place, and it was on his mind. It's not like he's a long-term thinker. Why not turn around and use that time to talk about Can't talk about the economy because our economy is fucking roaring. Can't talk about unemployment because we have the lowest unemployment, in at least the last 100 years. You can't talk about, you can't talk about Roe v. Wade. You can't talk about mifepristone. You can't talk about women's reproductive rights because, well, you are the one who actually takes credit for the overturning of it. I'm trying to think on some of the things that he could talk about, the border, right? Well, the problem with that is, you had a couple of Republicans that had incredibly comprehensive, a very, very conservative, comprehensive plan, what needs to be done. Well, that's not really going to pan out too well for him either, considering they elected not to go forward with it because that would give President Biden a victory, one that could potentially be used in the upcoming November election. And so what's left? Batteries, windmills, boats that are running on battery power alone. Really, it's funny because I haven't seen that boat, and I kind of I kind of like boats. I haven't seen a single boat that's operated solely on batteries, other than the ones that are in the that little swimming pool in Central Park that you rent for like $10 an hour, and the motorized sailboats that you just race with other people. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. It's just another example of how little he really knows about America, how little he actually cares about knowing about America and what are the things. How about talking maybe about climate change, since your supporters are dropping there like flies, right? Because of the heat. The fact that, I don't know, the fact that right now it's the hottest recorded month of June, I think, ever, right? That doesn't turn around and tell you something. Maybe talk about, what's happening across the country as a result of the climate change, the number of tornadoes and hurricanes and natural disasters. Maybe talk about something that benefits the country other than talking about your gripes and the gripes of the MAGA right. I don't know. It's just the level of distinction between the two individuals, whether it's about acknowledging the Justice Department, acknowledging the courts, which, of course, the dichotomy between the two of them is as great as the North versus the South. His regard for veterans versus Joe Biden's. His relationship, meaning Joe Biden with his son Hunter during these very tumultuous times versus the relationship that Trump has with his children. I don't know. I really don't know what to say. And I'm not just embarrassed by these supporters, I'm nauseated by them. And I think it's the first time, in America's history, maybe other than the Civil War, that the two sides, it goes more than just disagreeing with one another. The hatred between the two sides is so significant. It's so significant that I don't know how, as a country, forget about whether it's a Trump administration. The answer then is an absolute impossibility. I just don't know how the country heals itself, and that a respect between various opinions doesn't end up tearing us all apart.
Well, here's the thing that you said very famously a week or two ago. There are no two sides, though, when it comes to the truth. And so, for the side that embraces law and order, which is the pro democracy community, that embraces the way our jury system works, that embraces an America that is aligned with NATO and our traditional allies, an America that embraces freedoms, women's reproductive rights. It is that side, the pro freedom, pro democracy side, cannot be compromising with a side, though, that is talking about how they cheer on convicted felons and they want to bring down the FBI and the DOJ, and they spread the lies about J6. Or as Donald Trump said when he spoke in Vegas, he goes, the J6 hostages, he says, are the most horrifically treated people ever. And that's not a legitimate side in normal discourse that can or should take place in our country. So, to answer your question, Michael Cohen, what is important and paramount is that we continue to discuss values and principles that have been enduring here, and to not back down, to not flinch, to not blink, to not buy into the BS from corporate media and right-wing propaganda media that these Trump crowd sizes are so large, or there's some inevitability of idiocracy taking over our democracy. It is important to realize that the real silent majority in the United States of America are freedom-loving, pro-democracy people, and not people like this, Michael Cohen, because you talk about the Trump supporters. Here's how they show up to his events right now, like this, with shirts that say, "I'm voting for the convicted felon." Those are the shirts that they are wearing to these events. Or this is real, by the way. Snopes fact check this as true. Real men wear diapers, diapers over Dems, where Trump supporters show up to his rallies now wearing diapers to show support with him based on his behavior. Or they show up with things like this. I don't even want to say, you're the cursor on the show. They dress up in shorts that say, "F me great again," to these events. And then you have the lawyers. Let's show you the MAGA lawyers right here. This is Alina Habba, who wears the fake gold chains of the cult leader with fake rings that say MAGA. That is not normal discourse. That side should not be normalized. And what corporate media does is they want to both sides it and say, on the one hand, you have pro-democracy, patriotic Americans, and on the other hand, you've got this group, they're MAGA. Here are the habits that they engage in. They cheer on convicted felons. Everything's rigged. Everything's a hoax. It doesn't matter what the actual facts are, and that's BS. And I just think what we have to do as a brigade community here is we have to be the change that we always wanted, and we have to do the work that, frankly, the Fourth Estate has failed to do, and we'll get out the truth each and every day. So that's how I answer your question, Michael Cohen. But Cohen, as you see that type of crew that shows up at these events and behaves like that, though, they are mirroring their cult leader, though. These are the types of things that he says and does, and the behavior that he countenances. This isn't.
Aren't they, Ben, though, exactly who Donald Trump says that they are? The poorly educated. I like the poorly educated. That's what Donald says. Let me be very clear about something. I personally don't know anyone that would wear that diaper shirt. I don't know anyone that would say, fuck me great again, or this real men wear diapers. I don't know anybody that would actually wear that that has, number one, any intelligence, two, any respect for themselves, forgetting about, respect for the process, respect for the office. I mean, we're talking about the highest office in the land. We're talking about the most powerful position in the world. And this is just another example of exactly why they are following Donald into this dumpster fire of a cult. It's truly, I guess the only word I could use to describe them, and then just, is pathetic.
Yeah.
That's really what they are. But here's the scariest part. There's a lot of fucking pathetic people out there. A lot. And that's the part that needs to make everybody concerned. It's the part where we turn around, Ben and I, and everybody that appears on the Midas Touch network, why we turn around and we say continuously, you best make sure that you are fully registered to vote. You make sure that you go on the website and you ensure that you are registered. In that way, come November, and it's time for you to vote, there's no issues there. And don't just make sure that you yourself are registered to vote. Make sure that your other family members, assuming that they're not, MAGA, magtards or, maggots. And I mean, I can't begin to tell you the number of emails and DMs, and even on our Patreon, where they say, I don't know what to do. I have a certain relative who is, so knee deep into the cult of Trump that, I have no relationship with that person anymore. Well, this is really no joke. This grievance that they are fostering, in this country, and I see it on a daily basis. When I go out for dinner, or if I'm just taking a walk, and so on. There are people that will come over and they'll say, "Thank you for trying to protect democracy." I get people asking me to shake my hand or to take a selfie. But then at the same time, I'll get people who are cursing me out, saying some of the most vile things that you could imagine. I'm just walking, minding my own business, and they feel compelled. They actually feel entitled to, by name, call me out and then start their repertoire of MAGA mania. And it's for me, it's on a small basis, but this bullshit is happening everywhere. And the redder the state that you go to, the worse it is.
And here's how I think about it, though, whether it's a family member, a friend, or colleague who's fallen into the cult, though. And here's how I try to reflect on it. That there are entities, whether it's Fox, whose revenue is like $15 billion, or Sinclair, which has revenue in that range, that controls all the local TV, all the right-wing ecosystem that is so heavily funded by kind of these right-wing extremists who have this authoritarian vision for the United States, this oligarchical vision. Literally hundreds of billions of dollars are being spent to influence your friend or former friend or family member who was searching for news, who was looking for answers to a complex reality that is our existence, that we're all trying to find answers to make sense of this, right? Life isn't always that easy. And no matter who we are, sacrifices have to be made. Things come up in our families. Things come up with our health. Things come up at the job. Things we can't control have impact on our lives. So we're all on this journey for truth. And these billion-dollar right-wing funded things, when people, I think, are looking for the truth, intercept it, and then they say, here is an easy answer to your problems. It's rigged. The whole system is a hoax. They're all lined up against you. They are rigging the system. Your problems are because they've rigged the system. A deep state cabal has joined forces to harm you versus having the conversation that requires layers of complexity to understand how the world has flattened, how there are complexities in international relations, how our system of government works, right? How there are checks and balances, the difference between Congress versus the judiciary versus the executive branch, how a bill has to become a law. Where do these infrastructure projects come from? What ability does President Biden have to influence certain policies? With the layers of complexity, it becomes easier for con men, con women, con people to show up and manipulate the complexities and come to people with very simple answers, which sometimes boils down to, I alone can fix it. And then the same way Donald Trump dresses up his Magadonian members of Congress to show up a certain way, you have Fox and these right-wing networks put really attractive people with the chyrons and the setup, and it looks so beautiful. And these people, it looks like a news network, and that they're, saying it, and they look like newsmen and news people and newswomen from the past who people used to trust. But every day they're delivering falsehoods. And
Ben,
so I
Ben,
give you that rant, and I'll toss it over to you.
yeah, but
I give
isn't
you
this
that rant to
exactly
say that's who's influencing these people. So what's the antidote to that? How do you fix that? You have to build the infrastructure to fix that. And that's what you're
well,
trying to do and we're trying to do.
yeah, that's exactly. I was going to say that. That's exactly what, between Midas Network and, some of the other folks that are using the Midas Touch Network, like myself, through Mea Culpa or Legal AF or some of the other various podcasts. The goal is just to try to keep telling the truth, keep hammering the truth over and over. And the saddest part is that the truth gets drowned out by the lie. And Ben, just to talk about for a quick sec, when you said that you get these individuals like a Donald, and so on, and it's very reminiscent of the 1930s, with the Third Reich. I mean, let's not forget, Hitler started on a little box standing in the middle of the street, spewing hatred and racism and divisiveness, and it caught on. And then there were 10 people listening to this stupidity and horse shit. And then 10 became 100, and 100 became 1,000, and 1,000 became 10,000, until ultimately he had, through hate, through grievance, he had acquired a massive force that just moved from one area, from one country to another, decimating, killing, airing grievance, and so on and so forth. And the grievance wasn't just against the Jews. Of course, that was the initial target, but it was anybody who was homosexual. It was anybody who had some sort of a physical incapacity or a mental incapacity. It was Christians that didn't believe that it was right, or Muslims that didn't believe that it was right within which to kill another human being because of their religious ideology. I mean, millions and millions and millions of non-Jews were killed as well. I mean, this is what we are seeing going on right here. It is so sad to think that this is 2024, the United States of America. It's not even sad. It's worse than that. It is it's catastrophic. People have to remember that the United States is the epitome of democracy in the world. What happens if, God forbid, Trump wins? The first thing he's going to do, well, I shouldn't say the first because there's many firsts that he claims he's going to do, but certainly one of them is to withdraw from NATO. Well, where does that leave the other democratic countries who are our allies? They're our allies, for God's sakes. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to dismantle it. He's going to dismantle it based upon what? Based upon the fact that they're not paying their fair share. Well, in fact, it may not be an equivalent number, but then again, we have what? A 28 trillion dollar economy, and they have a $900 billion economy, and that they're paying an amount which actually percentage-wise to their GDP is greater than ours. But according to Trump, because we pay X and they pay Y, that this isn't really working for us. Why? Because democracy around the world doesn't mean anything. You know when we're going to realize, here I go, this is where I'm going to get angry, Ben. You know when you're going to realize, and I'm talking to the universe out there, not even to our brigaders, we will all know just how important democracy is and how bad it's going to be under a scenario by Trump, by pulling out of NATO, when our children have to enlist and they have to go fight for democracy around the world. They have to fight around the world, not even for other countries, but rather for America alone, for, God forbid, a million times Donald's president, for King Donald. The same way, like if you're watching Vikings or you watch any of those type of shows, right? All for the king, right? Lay your life down for the benefit of the king so that this fat pig can sit there and stuff his face with fucking Mar-a-Lago burgers and ice cream. Fuck that. Bullshit that I would ever let my kid go fight a war for him in order for him to remain king. Not a chance.
And I feel we have such an opportunity right now that frankly, the German people didn't have during the rise of Hitler, because while technology has aided and abetted authoritarianism, it's also a tool that we can have right now that didn't exist to get out the truth. And every single day when I wake up in the morning, when you wake up, when we continue to build this network brick by brick with this incredible community of beatdown brigaders out there, we know that every single day is a blessing. And I've seen some comments in the chat of people saying, I need to take a break from politics now. I just want you to know that we're in this together. And you may not hear that out there watching other networks. I want you to know we are in this together. And I also want you to know how confident I am that democracy and truth will prevail so long as we stay together and keep on getting the truth out every day, and that we don't break in our resolve. They're trying to break us. The corporate media, right-wing propaganda media, the local right-wing controlled media, they're trying to break us. I mean, the way they cover what Trump did in Vegas versus what he actually did in Vegas and try to act like that stand-up comic routine is somehow funny. And that's how the corporate media reported it, the headlines from USA Today. That's not okay, but don't let that get you down. We are in this together. I want you to know that. And I think it's so important. When we get back, I want to talk about my view, and I want to get your view, Cohen, that there is zero chance that Donald Trump is going to show up for the debate on June 27th later this month. I also have big news here that I want to announce. Tomorrow on Wednesday, June 12th at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific, we're going to have our Zoom meeting. exclusive to our Patreon. You and I decided, look, this is when most people are available to watch our live show. So because Wednesday's not the live show, let's do our Zoom meeting so that we can have as many people attend at that time. So if you've ever wanted to meet Michael Cohen, if you missed any of our prior exclusive Zoom meetings, sign up right now, patreon.com/political beatdown. Sign up. It also helps build this independent media network and this program. We don't have outside investors, so that's one of the ways to help out. Patreon.com/political beatdown. Tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. There will be a secret link that goes on the Patreon. And then at that time tomorrow, we'll be able to have that meeting together and you can ask Michael Cohen questions. Let's take a break and let's listen to our pro-democracy sponsors.
As you know, I'm a video editor, podcaster, and co-founder of the Midas Touch Network. We're all doing a lot. Living a more heart-healthy life fuels everything you do. Introducing 3-in-1 blood pressure support plus CoQ10 from SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the grapeseed extract in SuperBeets is clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. New SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced supports healthy CoQ10 level, an important nutrient for heart health. SuperBeets Heart Chews are incredibly delicious and so much better than any alternative supplements out there. I take my SuperBeets Heart Chews each morning and it's really kickstarted my morning routine. After taking my SuperBeets Heart Chews, I feel like I have more energy and I'm ready to take on the day. CoQ10 generates 95% of the cellular energy your heart needs, but it can decline with age, stress, and statin use. SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced is effective and contains clinically researched ingredients from SuperBeets, the #1 doctor, pharmacist, and cardiologist recommended beet brand for cardiovascular health support. Find out how you can get a free 30-day supply on bundles of new SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced and save 15% for a limited time only by going to SuperBeets Radio, promo code BEAT. That's super, BEETS, radio.com, promo code BEAT, and that promo code is BEAT.
So Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs. And it gives you tailored advice to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even stress management. So all you have to do is this. You breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on the measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and your meals so that you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. So let me be clear. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food that you eat into fuel that keeps you going. It can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts so that you can keep up your energy and stave off cravings. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go right now to lumen.me/beat to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/beat. BEAT for 15% off your purchase. And thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you to our pro-democracy sponsors right there. Great ad reads, Cohen. Great ad read by Brett as well.
I wonder if Lumen's going to work with MAGAs, considering that their breath probably stinks like shit. They're going to blow into it, and it's going to be like, please never do that again.
It's a philosophical question that one
it's
day.
It's a thought that I've been thinking. I've been thinking a lot. A lot of good people asked me if it was they said it was a good question. It was good. It was a very good. Nobody's ever asked that question before.
Well, here he was. Let's just show the contrast. Let me show you Donald Trump in Vegas, and then I want to compare that to President Biden today in Washington, D.C. So first, I'll show you Trump, and then I'm going to show you Biden. Here's Trump talking about some relationship with MIT and that he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by a shark. Here, this is what he's saying as part of his campaign. Let's play it.
So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too, a lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we're going to...
Now compare that.
I'm shocked he didn't say that he would take off his diaper and throw it at the shark. That's really thinking the right way. Nobody's asked him that.
No one's asked them. Let me compare this to what President Biden.
What a fucking idiot. I mean, is there any other way to describe it? If that's not the stupidest rant that you've ever heard, even the folks that are there, camera left and camera right, are shaking their heads. And I'm talking about these MAGA morons with their mustaches, their beards, their goatees, the whole nine. They all look exactly the same. It's like the fucking Deliverance. I mean, they're all sitting there shaking their head. They're like, the hell is this guy talking about? I mean, shouldn't you be talking about the economy, border control? Shouldn't you be talking about climate change, maybe, drilling? In Nevada, we should be talking about things like wages for servers and stuff like that. There's a big union issue that just came down there. They're not endorsing Trump. They're endorsing Biden. Shouldn't you be talking about things that apply to all of us, not whether or not you're going to get eaten by a shark or electrocuted by a non-existent boat that operates off of batteries because there's an electrical current? I mean, yeah, he's an idiot. And by the way, just so people know, it was his Uncle John who somewhere in like 1970 was a professor. I don't remember what, and I don't know that this to be true. I really have to do a little more research on it. I think Mary Trump said that it was true, but Uncle John actually was a professor at MIT. How does that, Ben, if you just would humor me for a second, can somebody please tell me how that has any bearing upon Donald Trump's intelligence or lack of intelligence, that he had an uncle that went to MIT?
Trump has it's been documented, Trump has this racehorse theory tied to eugenics, a lot like Hitler did. So Trump's view is that why he's saying that is he says that that's why he's got good genes and why he's smart, because that's why he says.
I have a question then under that same theory. He had a brother who died of alcoholism. His mom was a known drinker. Does that mean that he's an alcoholic?
Well, and that's why the underlying theory is not sound, and it's racist and it's ridiculous and it's been debunked, but that's how he cherry picks his eugenic view of that. And that's why he emphasizes that, because he knows clearly that he has major cognitive issues. So in that same speech, he talks about the dementia test that he aced, and he says he aced it multiple times. He needs to tell the audience he's smart, knowing that he's not. So the way he does that is say, Well, my uncle was at MIT, and he can't even articulate that in the sentence. His uncle passed away in 1985 and was a professor until 1975 at MIT. So Trump is saying that the basis of his theory about not wanting to be eaten by a shark, and how he's come up with this idea, is because of his uncle in MIT in 1975. I mean, here's the thing. It's the ranting and raving of a lunatic. And if it wasn't someone who was trying to cause such grievous harm to our families and friends and community and country and the world, you would normally see somebody up there and you try to get a person like that help. Like that, it's clearly there's very serious issues going on there. And instead of addressing those issues, the corporate media would focus on President Biden's age. And although President Biden is certainly older than he was, he's 81, because President Biden walks slower, but President Biden has all of his faculties there together. And we know this because we see his speech, and we see his speeches. And don't get me wrong, there are moments in a President Biden speech where he stutters. There are moments in a President Biden speech where he may look confused for a moment or two in a very long speech. That's not the defining quality of the speech or characteristic. The defining quality and characteristic, by the way, if I gave a speech for an hour, there would be moments where I mumble and I get confused, because speaking for that long is not an easy task at all. But the defining characteristic of a Trump speech is the ranting and raving of a lunatic, and telling stories about electrocution versus shark eating, and praising January 6th insurrectionists, and making noises like, ah, and that's the defining characteristic. So what the corporate media will do is they'll look at the Biden speech and they'll extract the kind of 1% moment, or say even 5% moment, where Biden is slower or isn't giving the best portion of his speech. They take that moment, but not the fact that the speech overall is a very good, commanding speech. Then for Donald Trump, they recharacterize the speech through a lens of normalcy, and they give it a meaning that Donald Trump didn't even do. So then you get the headlines like, Donald Trump goes off script and connects powerfully with the large crowd. And it's like, that's not what happened. What are you even talking about? So compare what I just showed you with Trump. Here's President Biden from earlier today. Let's play this clip.
After a school shooting in Iowa that killed a student and a teacher, my predecessor was asked about it. You remember what he said? He said, have to get over it. Hell no, we don't have to get over it. We got to stop it. We got to stop it, and stop it now.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no comparison between the two. You know, Joe Biden, because of his humanity, because of his decency, there's always something for him to talk about. You know, I could right now talk for a half an hour easily about gun violence, about everybody knowing somebody who has been harmed in one way or another as a direct result of lax gun laws. We could talk about the need for enhanced application process so that everybody who has a firearm is actually the right person to have a firearm, and not just simply because you turn 18 that you should be able to buy a firearm when you can't even go into the local store and buy a beer. I mean, that to me is just idiotic. I don't know a nicer way to say it. That somebody can go in and buy a firearm, but you can't buy a beer. I mean, to me, it's fucked up. It's insane. It's insane. almost as crazy, and Ben, nobody does it like Midas Touch Network, when you keep showing these clips of Trump walking out of places, waving to crowds that don't exist. I mean, if this in and of itself is not reason for this guy not to be running, and by the way, I'm going to say something which is not probably beneficial to Democrats, which, as any of you who've been part of the Political Beatdown Brigade and you've listened to my podcast, Mea Culpa, in the past, you'll know I've been a Democrat basically my entire life. I worked in 87 and 1988 for Congressman Joe Moakley out of Massachusetts in Washington when I was attending college my junior and senior year. Anybody who's walking around and waving to a crowd that doesn't exist should not be running. They should go ahead and they should actually bring in somebody else. And you know what? By bringing somebody else in, there's probably a better than likely chance that the race will benefit Republicans. I mean, I really believe that, that Biden is certainly beatable by somebody who is young, somebody who is, more energetic and gives people the feeling that, that they're not going to be a Donald Trump 2.0. So I'm not talking about like, Marco Rubio or, any Josh Hawley's or anybody like that. I'm talking about a moderate Republican, I think would really make this race very difficult for Biden. I don't believe that there's anything that can possibly be done that Trump ultimately becomes president. I don't think it's possible. I really don't. And I think that the Democrats have to get much smarter in the way that they are messaging just how batshit crazy. I mean, if I was there right now and I turn around and all of a sudden I just start, I just start waving, to each and every one of you, and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and I show you the other side of the room here, and I'm sitting by myself. You would say, "What the fuck?" I mean, this guy has lost it. The problem with when you have somebody like Trump who has lost it and he babbles this crazy nonsense, you get folks like Rudy Giuliani, you get folks like MAGA Mike Johnson, the number 2 guy. Think about it, my friends. The number 2 guy in our government is talking crazy because he needs to do so to appease Donald Trump. That you have an entire group of this chaos caucus that prevented border security, border legislation from being enacted. Why? Because Donald didn't want Biden to get a win. It's not a Biden win. It is an America win. It is our win. And that's why they are there in Washington wearing those necklaces and those pins that show that they're members of Congress. Who are they working for? What kind of stupidity is this? And I'm so lost already. The more I listen to folks like Alito, the more that I listen to folks like Clarence Thomas with Jeannie Thomas, and the more that I start listening to the way that these folks are behaving, and we're talking about the Supreme freaking Court, for God's sakes. Who growing up or who even prior to all of this nonsense didn't have the utmost of respect for our members of the Supreme Court? And for whatever reason, our founding fathers decided that these folks have to have their jobs for life and they can never be, never be removed, or almost never, impossible to remove them. I mean, this whole thing is absolutely crazy. Flying the American flag upside down and blaming it on your wife, not turning around and acknowledging that there is a major billionaire, and this is a big fucking problem, that you have this billionaire class that's out there right now supporting Trump, like, what's her name? Dr. Adelson, right? What's her first name? Miriam. Miriam Adelson, the wife of Sheldon Adelson, or I should say the widow of Sheldon Adelson, who's now the third richest woman in the world, who's going to give Donald $100 million? Really? You think that that's not coming with strings? And we know what the strings are. The same strings that her husband wanted. He, Sheldon Adelson, was the one that was responsible for the moving of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This is all about their ability to use Donald Trump because he is a useful idiot to them through money in order to get what they want. That's not the way it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to be able to buy the president of the United States.
Did you hear that audio recording that Lauren Windsor got of when she got it of Justice Alito, where he said a bunch of unhinged things, but then she also got the audio of his wife, Martha Ann Alito, and I really don't want to play the whole thing because I want to leave the episode on a positive note. But so Martha Ann Alito, when she would reach out to people, and there are people in the room and she wanted to get their attention, the way she would do it is by meowing at them. And so rather than say, hey, come over here, she would go meow, 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 meow. And I can't make this stuff. I don't know. The whole thing is so strange, Cohen. Here, listen to this. I'm only going to play a few seconds of it because I can't deal with this audio. Play it.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow.
One more time.
One more time.
Just one more time.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow.
Can't make this stuff up.
Let me share this with you, though, because I do want a positive note, even though these are, I think very difficult times for the Biden family. Of course, Hunter was just convicted. You don't hear, though, President Biden saying it's rigged. You don't hear anyone in the pro-democracy community saying the judge had it in, the jury was unfair, but you have still, even with the conviction, all of the MAGA Republicans coming up with new conspiracy theories right now. For example, Trump's aide, Stephen Miller, saying the DOJ is running an election interference for Joe Biden. That is why the DOJ did not charge Hunter with being an unregistered foreign agent, FARA, and any crime connected with foreign corruption. Why? Because all of the evidence would lead back to Joe. DOJ is Joe's election protection racket. In other words, the prosecutors, this is what MAGA is saying right now, the prosecutors were trying to do a cover-up. They're part of a cabal where President Biden wanted them to prosecute and get his son convicted of a felony. That's what they're pushing right now after they got what they have been pushing for. Let me show you Trump's statement that he put out as well, which is also spreading conspiracies and lies. Here it is right here. Trump goes, the trial has been nothing more than a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family, which has raked in tens of millions of dollars from China, blah, 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 blah. More lies there. But compare it to the statement from
by the way,
President.
you have to understand that that's coming from Don Trump Jr. And
Well, he's posting the campaign.
Right. He's posting the campaign. I also want to be, there's the old expression, he who lives in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks, shouldn't throw stones. They better be awfully careful themselves. These fuckers running around the world, turning around and trying to, what were they? There was a couple of real estate projects that, in whether it's Dubai, the Emiratis, they were talking about, maybe doing one in Riyadh, of course, with MBS. I mean, they have ones that were all over Romania. Let me tell you something. You got Jared Kushner, who pulled down over $2.5 billion from the Middle East. You have Ivanka, who ended up, getting a whole bunch of benefits from China with patents and copyrights. You have, the boys on behalf of, the Trump organization doing these real estate deals, all over the place. They really need to be very careful how they open up their mouths, because there is nobody. It's not the Biden crime family. I don't even have to turn around and refer to the Trump crime family. We all know exactly who and what they are. And as they meaning the entire Trump crime family, today they are cumulatively the recipient of the two-finger salute. All right, to you guys. All right, this poor guy, Hunter Biden, if your heart doesn't go out to him, then you clearly have never known or met or had to deal with somebody who has a massive addiction. And you've heard me say this a couple of times on this program and others. I've lost my two oldest and closest friends in my entire life to drug addiction. I watched as they spiraled, one of whom, when we were in college, we had a business together, took all the profit from the business, and we did really well. I mean, made a lot of money in college. I took all the money that we made as profit because his parents refused to do it, and I put him into rehab because his parents said, we've already done that several times, and it hasn't worked, and he's just incorrigible, and there's anything that you or anybody else are going to do. It's just a matter of time before he ends up losing his life. I mean, I remember that like it was yesterday. I didn't care. Took our profits, and we went ahead and I put him in rehab. And you know what? God bless Hunter Biden. God bless his family for staying as close to him as they have, because without the support, he never would have been able to make it to where he's at today. And instead of commending him and understanding that drug addiction is real, they're going to exploit that fact. And he broke the law. Don't get me wrong. He broke it. But really, anybody get hurt here? Right? There's a false application. Okay. Take away the application. Take away the gun. Is it if you drive your car too fast and you have too many points, they take your license. Okay. You really think that this was necessary? Anybody get hurt here? Did he brandish a gun on anybody? He's a drug addict who is working his ass off every single day, waking up and knowing that he has to be the best Hunter Biden that he could possibly be, right? And he's doing it. He's doing it for his father. He's doing it for Dr. Jill Biden. He's doing it for his children. He's doing it for his family, for all of them and his friends. Shame on them 1,000,000 times over for putting this guy through. You know, the only person that he actually hurt in this entire ordeal is himself. Right.
And Cohen, when it was alleged that Hunter Biden engaged in the crimes, Joe Biden was not President Biden, nor was he even Vice President Biden at the time. Hunter Biden had just lost his brother. It was at a time, actually, too, and people don't talk about this, where President Biden did not even think he was ever going to run again for office, although as Donald Trump started damaging the country, that's when President Biden said, you know, I have a change of heart. I think I need to run again. So this happened at a period also, and this, again, doesn't get the discussion, where there weren't the trappings of either the vice presidency or the presidency the exact way that Donald Trump's kids, that Ivanka, that Jared, that others actually utilize the office itself for all of these issues. Let me just read to you the statement that President Biden issued so you can see the contrast, because I think it's important. We talk about that. President Biden writes, "As I said last week, I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. So many families who have had loved ones battle addiction understand the feeling of pride seeing someone you love come out the other side and be so strong and resilient in recovery. And I also said last week, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Jill and I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change." And to me, that statement says it all, a class act right there. And I wanted to leave on this note. I am very, very excited, though, to meet with all the brigaders tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. There will be a secret Zoom link that we're going to post in the next few hours. So you got to sign up right now if you want to attend this exclusive Zoom meeting and meet Michael Cohen and ask him a question. So here's what you do. You go to patreon.com/political beatdown right now. patreon.com/political beatdown. One more time, go right now to Patreon, patreon.com/political beatdown. You sign up there, and then there will be a secret link that gets added to the feed there, which will take you tomorrow to the exclusive Zoom meeting where you will meet Michael Cohen and myself, and you could ask us a question. We have a ton of fun at these Zoom meetings. So if you haven't attended, we want to see you there. If you have attended before, we want to see you back. It also helps build this independent media platform as well, which is very helpful to us and the growth of this show, since unlike a lot of the right-wing media and corporate media, we don't have outside investors here. Patreon.com/political beatdown. Also, thank you.
Ben, one last thing also, if I could just jump in here, because I hear a lot of people like, yeah, pardon Michael Cohen. Yeah, pardon Michael Cohen. That'd be great. If you really want to send a letter, I've been talking about this for quite a long time. You can go to my Twitter account, or X, whatever the hell he calls it, at Michael Cohen 212. Pinned to it is a website that will take you directly to the White House. You can write your little letter, and if you do me the favor and then just post it, and we'll just keep it going. I know that there's already like 25, 30,000 have been done. The more the merrier. Maybe someone in this Biden administration will open their eyes and see what really should have been done a long time ago. Take it away, Benjamin. Now you're silent.
Make sure you all subscribe to the Mea Culpa Blue podcast. Wherever you get audio podcasts, go to the Mea Culpa Blue. And I'm pleased to announce also our new very popular show on the Midas Touch Network, Mistrial, featuring your lawyer, Danya Perry, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, Catherine
I've already
Rice,
been on it. I've already been a guest on it.
The top prosecutors. They joined forces. They created the show Mistrial on the Midas Touch Network. That will be today at 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. They've got a very special guest as well. You're not going to want to miss it. That's 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. It'll be right here on the Midas Touch live feed. Make sure you all check that out as well. Can't wait to see everybody on Zoom tomorrow. Great episode. Great seeing you, Cohen. Great having you back. Thank you, Brigaders. We love you. We appreciate you so much. Shout out to the Brigaders and shout out to the Midas Mighty. Have a good one.